Reeva Steenkamp's mother, June, has now formally opposed parole for his daughter's killer, Oscar Pistorius. She met with the parole board at Atteridgeville Correctional Centre this morning. The parole board has received input from both Steenkamp's parents, who are adamant the Paralympian should remain behind bars. Erin is tracking developments for us. And Erin, June Steenkamp has left. What do we know?
Well, we know that it's been an incredibly hard day for Reeva Steenkamp's mother here in Atteridgeville when she addressed the parole board. We heard that the parole board kept her separate from her daughter's killer, Oscar Pistorius, who's been serving out his sentence for murder here at the centre for some years, and that she addressed them about the toll the loss of Reeva Steenkamp's life has had on the household. Two households here, almost both alike in dignity in fair Pretoria, you could say, Dudu, impacted by those events on Valentine's Day Eve in 2013. We also heard that a family representative read out the witness impact statement for Barry Steenkamp, who is back at the family's homestead or home in the Eastern Cape. He's not been able to attend in person due to health concerns, and this is what that representative had to say on the address on behalf of Barry Steenkamp to the parole board. Let's take a listen.
June has been a very strong woman today. Considering the circumstances, she's been so strong. I mean, she's an inspiration to me and to other women about gender-based violence and how to handle this kind of situation. I really don't think I would have had the strength that she did, but yeah, she's very strong. I'm so proud of her to get through this.
Dudu, I'm standing in front of a rose bush here at the Atteridgeville Correctional Centre. It is a farm-driven correctional centre. Inmates work on the land. They grow things like potatoes and pumpkins. But we've chosen to be in front of the rose bush because if we reflect again on events of Valentine's 2013, Reeva Steenkamp, at 29, a law graduate and South African model, a rising celebrity as well, you could say, had written a Valentine's card to her then boyfriend, Oscar Pistorius. Of course, she was fatally shot and killed in a locked bathroom, standing upright and addled with bullets that Valentine's Day Eve. But she'd written a card to Pistorius, which he only read months later, on what would have been her 30th birthday. And in it she wrote, "Roses are red, violets are blue. Now is a good time to say that I love you." And Pistorius raised that sentiment of Reeva Steenkamp, her love for him, during the trial proceedings, which of course were widely publicized and broadcast, in fact, not only to South African viewers, but around the globe.
So, Erin, the Correctional Services spokesperson held a briefing a little bit earlier on. What's important to bear in mind about the parole?
Yes, so of course it's very sort of rung by procedure and legislation as well. Dudu, we heard Singabako Nkomalo of Correctional Services nationally explaining some of the processes involved and the fact that inmates who are applying and motivating for parole, as is Oscar Pistorius, need to show that they are remorseful, that they're conscious of the consequences of their actions, in this case firing the trigger of his firearm in his property at the Silver Oaks Estate in Pretoria. And also show what efforts they've taken to rehabilitate or correct themselves. Prisons in South Africa are called Correctional Services Centre. They're emphasizing the need to correct or improve one's conduct and one's character, you could say. And in fact, last year in court submissions, this is what Oscar Pistorius said, vouching for his own candidacy for parole. And I quote, Pistorius said, "I humbly submit that I have done everything in my power to rehabilitate, to conduct myself in such a manner as to comply with the prison rules and to show remorse." That hasn't landed with Reeva Steenkamp's parents, including Barry, who met with Oscar Pistorius here last year. I spoke to an attorney who has some 15 years almost of experience in parole board hearings, and he emphasized some of the other context around what inmates need to show. Let's take a listen to that.
The purpose behind the Correctional Service Centre is not on a punitive fashion, instead to correct the behavior and their deeds to make sure that at the later stage, the very same offenders we see quite often behind the bars in various reasons, the community still needs them. to come back and be useful, and we can be able to benefit out of their the current deeds as opposed to their actions prior their judge on their sentencing.
So, Erin, there's no clarity on the outcomes and when it will be announced, because we understand, as Singabako Malo pointed out, that the deliberations will be made, all statements will be considered, and then only will we know the decision. And those who are impacted by this know the decision. But we do know something about Pistorius' detention at the centre.
Certainly we do, and you heard there that lawyer Motibatse Harry Tobejane talking about some of the processes around parole board hearings. He's also spoken about some of the challenges, the emotional toll that these board hearings can take, not only on inmates applying for parole, but also, of course, on the victims or survivors of their actions. Here at the Atteridgeville Correctional Centre, it's, as I said, a farming-based correctional centre. There are hectares of land. Pistorius has been involved in running the vegetable patch here in his several years in this facility. He, of course, was first detained at Khosi Mampuru, which is a high-risk, high-security prison with some 8,000 inmates. Here, and we have confirmed this morning, there are some 1,119 inmates, of which Pistorius is one. He is a double amputee. He's a person living with a disability. He has an ensuite bathroom here, and he has said and motivated for his parole, saying that he's been involved in correctional services programs, that he's conducted himself as best he can in order to correct, to rehabilitate, and to show contrition for his actions on the eve of Valentine's Day in 2013.
Erin Bates, we say thank you for now.